But I
Yeah.
thought as I got into Klout, I saw, oh, this is really nice. It's a good way of finding out how you're really doing in social media. Too often people will send out tweets and Facebook posts, and they do a lot of things on social media just hoping and praying that maybe it'll work. Klout is a way to come in and say, let's examine that quantitatively and find out how are you really doing. And it gives you a score from 0 to 100 on how influential you are. And so it comes out testing over 12 billion data points every day to find out, okay, how are you really doing? How many people are interacting with you? How many people are saying, yes, this is good? And how many
Right.
people are responding? So all of that adds up. And that's where Klout comes in. So we thought, it really does matter. So, hey, what about a name called Klout Matters?
Sure. And I think, what about you, Gina? I know you two collaborated on this project, and why write a book on Klout? What do you think are the biggest sort of questions that business owners have right now about Klout and their own Klout score?
Well, I really see this as a major convergence and marketing trend for the next several decades, where business leaders will want to reach out directly to consumers, what we call now the citizen influencers, the people who are,
right.
They're making waves. Word of mouth has always been the most powerful form of marketing, and now that can be harnessed and leveraged and scaled because of the internet and social media.
Sure.
So business owners want to be able to find these people. Well, how do you find them, and how can you tell who's really influential and who's going to help you if you reach out to them to help market your product or service? And you can't just tell by the number of followers or fans, because those can be bought. So this is a service that I discovered, and at first I thought, very interesting, because I saw people who had far fewer Twitter followers than I did, yet their Klout score was higher. So I said, what's going on here? And I really dug into it, and I've used it a number of times to help people that we're doing marketing for, to market their books and to market their services.
Yeah.
And with it, we've been able to reach out to particular influencers. And so that's how I discovered it. And then it's been a great convergence of, big data, the numbers that I loved as a student at Georgia Tech in industrial engineering, and then marketing, what I studied at Harvard Business School.
Well, it's really funny, because when I sent these initial emails out, I got a bunch of people from the university that were emailing me saying, my Klout score is like 5. I'm freaking out.
So we're going to go through a lot of material here, and if you guys want to get the slide deck, just go to getklout.com, opt in right there, and we'll be sharing it with you. And the official hashtag for today is GetFound. We may be suggesting some others, but the first one, the main one, because of Findability University, and certainly Heather, thank you so much for having us with you today. We're happy to be here. And my Twitter handle is @Gina Carr, and Terry's is @Terry Brock. So as Heather mentioned and showed you the picture of the book, she's actually featured in there with some great expert tips, and we really appreciate that, Heather. You've contributed a lot to the book, and that was very helpful.
My pleasure.
So if you want to go over to cloutmatters.com after this is over, we'll have some free chapters, and later we're going to tell you how you can win a copy of the book. And the hashtag for the book is actually #CloutMatters. Okay, sometimes we're asked, do we get paid by Klout? We seem so enthusiastic about the service, and we don't. We did go out to the headquarters last year and meet. We met the founder, Joe Fernandez, and we had a great time interviewing the different leaders of Klout, and we are enthusiastic about it because of the power of the service, but we don't get compensation from them. Who is Klout important for? Well, it's important for a lot of different professions. In particular, if you are a professional speakers are increasingly being chosen because of their Klout score. This is a friend of ours, Barbara Glanz, and we spoke at an event she attended about a year ago, I guess, and gave her some tips. She raised her Klout score about 20 points within the next few weeks, and the next time I saw her, she said, "You won't believe it, but I just got hired for a speaking engagement."
Wow.
And they said it was specifically because of her Klout score. Isn't that something?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I recently received some brownie bites from Klout, so I'm hoping I go from brownie bites to speaking engagements very soon.
The speaking engagement is good. That usually helps pay a few more bills that way.
I got brownie bites from Klout perks, so apparently I have a high enough score to get snacks. So I'm really excited about that.
Oh, good, good, good. When we were at the NSA, National Speakers Association convention just recently, we ran into a good friend of Terry's, Wendy Keller, who is a literary agent for many successful book authors, and she told us very specifically that book publishers will not even look today at someone with a Klout score under 50, and major publishers want authors with scores of at least 60. Now, I'm not saying that every book publisher is following that, but she's on the front lines, and that's her guideline now when she gets someone who says, would you, I'd like to work with you as an agent. She's looking at their score, and she's sharing the score with the publishers because she knows they're looking at it. Interesting, eh?
Yeah. I would kind of wonder, what is is it LinkedIn? Is it, then do they go to Klout? And, how do all the scoring tools sort of play out? So it's interesting to hear that feedback, because you don't really hear a lot of people saying, I'm looking at your Klout or I'm looking at your LinkedIn. It's kind of a behind-the-scenes, check you out before I actually connect with you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of the factors that people will use. It's not the only one, but it is a factor. Often when you get down to this author, you've got author A, B, and C. All three of them are good, and you need something to break the tie. Klout comes in as a tiebreaker because it really focuses on who's got the most influence. And when you think about it, a publisher wants an author who is very influential.
We have a friend in our mastermind group, J.B. Glossinger, and he has an interesting Klout story. Terry, could you share that?
Well, JB is a guy who's got Morning Coach. It's one of the top blogs in the world, consistently rated in the top 10 in personal development. And he had not heard about Klout, or just a little bit, and we were at a mastermind meeting. He's in our mastermind group. We were talking about what Klout is and the benefits of it. It was interesting. Then a couple of weeks later, he and his wife were down in Bogota, Colombia. She's from there, and they go back and forth between Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where they live, and down in Bogota, where they also have a home. Back and forth. Well, as business trips will happen, Heather, you know this. Sometimes it changes, and you've got to change your flight. You call up the airline, you say, hey, I need to change. I'm not flying out on this day. I'll be a couple days later. And they said, sure, we can do that, and that'll be a charge of $800. I thought, whoa, $800. I don't know about you, but where I grew up out in the country, we called that serious money. And apparently for JB also. And so he thought, wait a minute, wait, this doesn't seem right. And then he thought, wait a minute, I just talked with Gina and Terry about this thing called Klout, and he had looked up his Klout score and knew it. He's told the airline, wait a minute, here's who I am, here's where my ranking is with my podcast, and by the way, this is what my Klout score is. Don't take my word for it. You go look it up. So they looked it up, they hung up, called, and then they called him back within the hour and said, oh, Mr. Klossinger, we're so glad that you're flying with us today. For you, there's no charge for that. You do not have to pay the fee, and we are moving you and your wife to the front of the plane. Thank you very much for flying with us today. Klout score really does matter, because think about it. From the airline's point of view, do they want someone who is that influential saying good things or bad things about them? They're that influential, and it really does matter on what they're going to say. So it's a really nice perk to have that. I mean, for JB, hey, that was an $800 perk that he can spend that money a whole lot better than the airlines can, at least in his judgment. And so being able to do that and being able to have a good Klout score really makes a difference.
Well, usually that call comes from God, right? You get a first-class upgrade. You're like, okay, that must be a divine intervention that made that happen. So it's nice to know that Klout had something to do with it as well.
Yes, indeed. It's just another factor that's there.
That's right. Awesome.
Well, some of those terms that are being used in conjunction with this field of influence marketing, social scoring, digital grooming, and influence marketing. Heather, I know you're quite an expert in search engine optimization, and so what we talk about is social scoring optimization, a new term that you'll be hearing about in the next few years. Digital grooming, when we're presenting, Terry and I, and of course Heather, do a lot of professional speaking, and when we're in front of the audience, we're worried about our hair and our outfits and our
I worry about that a lot.
I love your hair, Terry.
Especially.
So trendsetting.
And In that case, we're in front of a few hundred people, maybe a few thousand people, but when we're online, we're in front of the entire world.
Yeah.
So the whole digital grooming is incredibly important, and Heather, I can certainly see in all of your online work that you take that very seriously and that you've done a fabulous job with your online reputation and digital grooming. And so, you guys, Heather's a great example to follow if you want to know how to do it right.
I'm going to tell my accountant now that all my Nordstrom bills are now part of my digital grooming. This might work really well for me.
There you go. That's right. Show Nordstrom your Klout score. Maybe they'll give you something. You never know.
Right? I'm going to try it next time I go in.
Great idea.
So social scoring, I haven't heard, you guys heard anything about whether Google's looking at Klout as part of their ranking signal? Have you heard anything about that?
Well, they use it for Google+. It is a factor that goes into your Klout score. So what happens is your Klout score is a compilation of how you're doing on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Google+, and a few other platforms. It's not everything, and they're constantly tweaking and adjusting, but it gives you a good way to do it, much better than, well, my gut tells me that, well, that's nice, and with all due respect to your gut, it could be wrong.
Right. Well, it's important also, especially from a Google authorship standpoint, that those attributes be shared through Klout, and those accounts be connected through Klout. So all that scoring, just similar to a Google authorship indicator, all of that content you're pushing out onto the internet is being seen from one thought leader. And a lot of people assume that Google can collect all that and understand that all those assets are coming from the author. But that's not necessarily true. So Klout I think is a great way too to kind of pull all that thought leadership together and say, hey, this is me. I get credibility for this content.
Yeah, exactly. One of the nice things about Klout is it's really gauging not what you're sending out. What you send out is okay, but it really does not affect your Klout score. And a lot of people don't understand that. What matters is what people say about you and who is saying things about you. So if you send something out, that's nice, but they watch now with all the complicated algorithms and crunching of numbers, really big data of who is responding and how influential are the people who are responding. That's where it really counts.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay. So let's talk about the what, why, and how of these terms. Well, influence marketing goes way back. If you think about in ancient Rome, the town crier guy there, he's holding his news of the day. And so he's saying, the Colosseum will be closed tomorrow for cleaning and other news of the day. And then in closing, he might say something like, Caesar loves Roman grains, and you will too. Today's message is brought to you by Roman grains. Caesar thinks you should give it a try.
It's very yummy.
I think he would have endorsed wine as well.
He might have.
Roman wine. That's a good idea. Yes. So, the concept is not new. It goes back from early times. The earliest I can trace it is to Rome, but if anybody out there knows of an earlier time in tribal history that it was used, I would love to know more about that. In more recent times, it's evolved into companies hiring important celebrities, athletes, and actors, actresses, people like that, and spending millions and millions of dollars with them to get their endorsement. But sometimes that doesn't go so well. A few years ago, lots of companies pulled their sponsorships of Tiger Woods, and they were embarrassed and very angry that they had spent millions of dollars with him. And the list goes on of celebrities that have fallen into that trap because they're human, and even all those millions of dollars don't make them superhuman, and things happen. So that's what happens with that money.
Right. Well, it still has an 89 Klout score.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods.
Oh, does he? Okay, I haven't looked lately, but I bet he has a great one.
Yeah.
But nowadays, companies are looking more towards citizen influencers, like Heather Lutze. If I were going to bring out a new product about SEO or mobile technology or really anything to do with social media, business growth, and the SEO world, I would go to Heather and say, Heather, I would really love you to promote my product. And Heather might say, well, for the right price, I'll do that.
That's right. Or if it's one of my personal favorites, Nordstrom, Starbucks, any of those things, I'm consider trade as well.
There we go. You're negotiable on those things.
I'm negotiable on those, yes.
Yes, because when Heather speaks about those topics, people are really listening. So probably Nordstrom's as well.
Let's hope so.
What's interesting is this with the influence marketing and tools like Klout, the Denver Business Journal was able to identify several what I would call normal people, just regular everyday people. These are friends of ours, friends of Heather's, Terry's, and mine, Don Cooper, Mary Kelly, and Vivica Von Rosen, who now are basically their online influence is up there with Carl Mecklenburg. Carl was in this study as well and identified as one of the top social media influencers. And, of course, he's a former Denver Broncos. So, it really is equalizing the playing field. Heather,
yes.
Did you want to comment on that?
They're all really committed to their platforms, and they're all, very active in this space. And, I think there's definitely so a lot of the people that are in this webinar are business owners. They're marketing managers or they're CEOs. They're not geeks. They're not social media, hardcore enthusiasts. So I think a lot of people are a bit exhausted by all the things that they have to try to manage for business. And these guys are great examples of people really on their A game. But what kind of advice would you have in regard to Klout and businesses just trying to maintain a social presence? They're not at the caliber of Don or Mary Kelly or Carl.
Well, one of the most important things is to consistently send out good information. You want to have good quality content. That's what people are looking for. It's why we go to the net. We go to the net to find information. We want to read that, and when we can find something that is relevant to what we're doing, we can then find that information, and we like the people that are providing that. You think of someone like Mary Kelly. She has a PhD in economics, a former commander in the United States Navy, and she has a lot of knowledge about many areas that can really help businesses. And so she writes about that. Don Cooper is an expert on sales. He calls himself the sales heretic, and he talks about unconventional ways to do that. Vivica Von Rosen is an expert on LinkedIn and connecting with people. So they're putting out the information, and I think that's the key for those of you that are watching this and listening. Think about ways you can provide really good content, compelling content that people go, wow, I want to find out what she's saying today. I want to watch that video. I want to read that post that so-and-so has. And that's going to be one of the most important things, I think. Gina, what would you add to that?
I think you're right on target. And as far as, what a person can do, that consistency, and also, Heather, you mentioned the overwhelm, and certainly we hear a lot about that. I think it's fine to really dig into just a single social network that makes sense for you. One that you like, it suits your personality, you think that your clients are there. They probably are, or you can make them there. And, I think it's okay to put out an out to lunch sign on the ones that you're not going to be on. Set up a profile so somebody can say, okay, they go to Twitter, and on your profile you say, hey, thanks for stopping by. I don't hang out much here. Please join me on Facebook at this link.
That's a great idea.
I think that's perfectly okay to do.
Yeah, I think it's a reality. Go ahead, Heather.
No, I was going to say I've learned to I treat the different social sites based on the outcome that I want. I mean, LinkedIn is a great place to network and connect, and I use Twitter as for direct, fast correspondence with people I normally couldn't touch. So I sent an email to Matt Cutts, and I'm like, we had a bet with a couple other guys that he wasn't going to respond. Matt Cutts is the head of the algorithm for Google. And he's a great guy, but not exactly the easiest person to get in touch with. And I just sent him an at reply on Twitter, and he got back to me right away. And I think that really, and I've done this and tested it with a lot of other very high-ranking people that you think you'd never get access to. So for me, it's sort of Facebook is a great communal conversation area. Twitter is a more direct response, quick access. Klout sort of gives you gives a number, I think, to all the things you do, and then watches the responses and sees if you're sort of a fake authority or a real authority, and are people engaging with you. And I think a lot of times when I talk to businesses, they're like, we're not sure our audience is there. We don't think that's how we're going to get business. And I know I feel a lot of fatigue from my students and for people who attend these webinars. So I guess, how do we add Klout into the mix? And is it something we have to constantly be worried about, or does it form and build on its own over time?
Fortunately, it does operate without you having to pursue it every day. What you can do is, if you set it up initially, that's what you want to do. And a lot of people would have much higher Klout scores than they already do if they went there one time and just made sure that you're connected on Twitter, you're connected on Facebook, usually in the personal area, not in your business page, for those that are thought leaders, authors, speakers, coaches, people that are in that thought leader space, and connect those. So, for instance, Foursquare is one that I'm connected with, but I don't use it at all. It's not really affecting my life. It's wonderful for other people and other areas, but for me, my business doesn't come necessarily from, where we are right here in Orlando. And we're in Orlando, Florida, and it's great, but I don't get most of my business from that. I'm getting it from all over the world. That's just the way our business is structured. We need strong internet access, but you've got to look at what's right for you and your business and then customize. And then once you set it up, just consistently, continually produce good value, connect with people with videos, with writing, good posts, sending out good quality information. And that's the way you do it. It's the nice thing about Klout. It's not yet another thing you got to always do.
Right, right. And I know there's another sort of a scoring tool called Cred. And you see a lot more of these scoring tools coming out. Why is Klout really the one that we should look out versus all these other social scoring sites that are sort of popping up now?
Well, my short answer to that is, if you look at the Alexa ranking of Klout compared to any of the others, it far exceeds it. If you did a search like you've taught me to do and see how many people are searching for a certain term, Klout just totally outpaces the others. Klout has a great revenue model. They've been making money since day one with their Klout perks that we're going to talk about a little bit more in a couple minutes. And so there's significant money. Klout also was just purchased for $200 million? Was that the number, Terry?
Yeah, a little bit over $200 million. It wasn't fully disclosed, but that's what we think it is. Nevertheless, that's still some serious money. They've got more than a couple of coins to rub together.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and that was by Lithium Technologies, a company that really is foundationally customer service driven. And so they're going to be integrating these Klout scores into the customer service experience, such that when you call up and you have an issue with your cable company or your cell phone or whatever, one of the ways that you'll be routed to a better or worse customer service representative will be based on things like your Klout score.
Got it. Great. What else do you have? I know I'm really excited about Klout. I think it's so cool. So I'm always interested in, you guys have such great tidbits and information about this. So.
Well, one of the promos that I saw you contribute out there in the social network was, who has the higher score, Lady Gaga or Barack Obama? So I think we've answered this for now. In the early days, Klout was criticized because Justin Bieber for a long time was the only one who had a Klout score of 100, and Barack Obama, I think, was 99. But and anyway, it's kind of interesting to see who has scores in this range.
Yeah.
I talked about normal people earlier. You really have to be a celebrity to have a score above 80. And generally, well, not generally, almost always, you're going to have a Wikipedia page if you have to have a score above 80. That seems to be, just one of the correlating factors. Every time I see somebody with a score above 80, they have a Wikipedia page, which is really hard to get. And I'll come back and talk about that in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
So one of the things I like to say is, it's a good day when my bathroom scale goes down and my Klout score goes up.
It's a great day.
And, it's much like a bathroom. Klout is much like a bathroom scale that, I can be exercising and eating right and doing all the things that I think is going to help me lose weight, which is my goal in this case. But I really don't know if I'm succeeding until I step on the scale. Similarly, you can be tweeting and retweeting and sharing posts and interacting with people on social media. But, how do you know if you're really sharing, if you're really wielding influence, if you're really catching the attention of people out there. And so Klout is a great way to do that. And the score is 0 to 100. The average score is 40. And if a score above 60 is pretty good.
Well, I've worked hard on my score too, and it was weird because at one point it went up. I was at like hovering around the 60s, and it went all the way up to 78, and then it was up there at 78, and then it about 2 or 3 weeks, and then it bounced back to 68 or 69, whatever I'm at now. So I was like, what was that about? Like there was some anomaly in my score that I was like, I could never figure out what it was. So I think it's easy to assign self-worth to a number. And I think I want to warn people about that behavior, because I think that it's easy to establish that, if I'm a 40 or I'm a 80 or whatever that number is. So
exactly. Yeah, Heather, you raise a very good point, because too often we can think, oh, gee, I am that Klout score, and oh, no, it fell down. What am I to do? Oh,
right.
Woe is me. And then we say, wait a minute, tomorrow is another day. Yes,
Okay.
To borrow from the movies and all that. But to realize, okay, what matters is not so much your Klout score even, but it's that cash in the bank. When it comes down to business, that's important. And, of course, we can get philosophical and go, well, it's more than that. It's are you enjoying life and all that? Yeah, of course. But when you look at it, it does have a place. It's a factor there, much like, say, a FICO score in banking or in your credit rating. Yes, it is important, but you don't live or die by it, and you don't feel like, oh, it's bad. I think look at it more as a challenge. If your score is something that you don't want it to be, you feel you should improve that, well, then good. Go through the steps that are necessary. We detail those in our book, and if you go through those, it's sound business. Even if something like Klout did not exist, doing what we talk about, of connecting with people, engaging with them, specifically in social media, doing those things, that's going to help your business, which is really good. And I don't know about where you are there in Denver, but in Orlando, they like green paper dollars when we go to the grocery store, and little pieces of plastic here with numbers on it that actually go through and it clears. That really is important, much more than any other Klout score.
Yeah, and it might be a good indicator too that I just need to maybe up my game a little bit if my social's been dormant or I've been kind of complacent about whether this really matters. As from my side of the river, it would be Google authorship. It definitely matters. It's a huge part of the ranking signal. And I think just for social engagement and how are we doing, and are we getting responses and retweets and comments, and it's a good kind of, I think, a good indicator, if you will, or a pulse of how are we doing? Are we getting anything? Are we focused in the right places?
I think that's a good way to put it. That's what we have looked at and we keep seeing over and over. Klout is a good way to let you know how you're doing, like a thermometer, or a scale or something. You step on, and that's why I like this graphic that Gina put together. It really makes sense. It's kind of like you step on the scale, and if you're going, ooh, I shouldn't have had all those potato chips last night, and that chocolate cake was really good, but now I can see the quantitative results of that. Okay, you don't kill yourself. You just say, okay, hold it. Need to cut back a little bit. Need to improve doing the right things that we know medically to help you lose weight in a sound way. Same thing with Klout. Do the right things and you'll be okay.
Wonderful. Okay.
Well, similar to that is people compare the Klout score to an online credit score. And similarly, you do the right things there and you have a higher Klout credit score or not as high of one. One of the things about a Klout score compared to credit score is Klout score is completely public. And anyone with a Twitter handle automatically has a Klout score, whether you wanted it or not, whether you like it or not. You're going to automatically have that unless you specifically get in touch with Klout and ask them to take your account down, which you can do. But your credit score is private, but Klout score is public. So the world is, only the world is watching.
So when you say Twitter handle, just for those who are on the call who may not understand, that's a Twitter account. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, if you have a Twitter username, you have a Twitter account. For every Twitter username you have an associated Klout score.
Got it. Okay, good.
Okay, so they're calculating billions of data points across millions of users, influencers each day. This is called an application of big data. Terry, why don't you walk us through some of these Klout perks? This is something that a lot of people get excited about. It's not my main focus with Klout, but a lot of people think it's really important, so we're definitely going to talk about it.
Well, this is something that's important because this is what Klout really is about. And you think, okay, they've got all this scoring, but how do they make money? Well, here's how they do it. They do it by going to places and people like Chevy. Chevy Volt, for instance, was one brand that worked with Klout. And what they said is we want to reach influencers, people who are very influential in two areas. Number one, automobiles, and number two, care for the environment. And so they said, let's identify those people. Klout says, no problem, we can do that. We've got the numbers to do that. And they gave them those connections so that they were then able to contact them, and they were able to say, hey, we would like you to have the use of a Chevy Volt. Here are the car keys. Here you go. Have these for a long weekend. You know, yours to do, whatever you want. And by the way, you do not have to say anything about it, and it doesn't have to be positive. Just we want you to take the keys, enjoy it, and then write about what you experience, if you'd like, but you're not required to. Well, they tried that, and what happened was that the people that were accepting those cars had a wonderful time with it, and if they didn't, they'd write about that, but they were able to sell cars with this. Matter of fact, Klout told us recently that they were able, it's something you don't read about very many places, but we found out they actually can attribute 7 sales that they made over this weekend in an experiment for what they did in a few key cities. And you think, that's a pretty good return for what they did on a small experiment. And the reason is, think about it. If I wanted to know something about, let's say search engine marketing tools that are out there, and Heather Lutze was saying, tool A here is really good. Tool B, I didn't care for as much. And tool C, don't even waste your time. That gets my attention much more than all the ads that I see out there, because I respect Heather Lutze and what she says about, say, tools that are related to search engine marketing. And if she says tool A, really good. Tool B and C, don't worry about them, they're not good. That's important to me. And that's the approach that Klout takes with perks. What they do is they have these perks available so that if you're writing about a particular area, they can then make sure that you have access to things like that. Matter of fact, Gina, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, I think we've got some other examples here of what they did with that. Virgin America said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give people that have a certain score, they will be able to get a free ride, free ticket to go coast to coast on Virgin America to experience it. And they did this for highly influential people. How do we know they're highly influential? They have a high Klout score. And so they did American Airlines as an example also. We don't have a slide of this, but American Airlines said last year, hey, if you've got a Klout score of 55 or higher, we're going to give you free access to our prestigious Admirals Club for a full day. And you don't even have to fly with American Airlines. Just come on in. Here you go. And by the way, we will check it out that you do, in fact, have a Klout score of 55 or greater, because it's public knowledge. And you think about it from the brand's point of view, this is really smart advertising.
It is.
Rather than using the old spray and pray method where you spray it out there with a whole bunch of radio or TV or newspaper, hoping and praying that maybe somebody will somehow buy. Instead, you say, I'm going to target that, and that person because they are all very influential. And they'll write about this. They'll tell people about it in social media, on their blogs and their podcasts, et cetera, et cetera. And this is really what Klout is about. It's what's moving in the direction and where those perks are important. Matter of fact, another one. Gina, bounce over to that next one. I think our next slide is, here, the Palms Hotel in Las Vegas. People would check in and they would go, oh, Heather Lutze, look at you, and you've got a high class. Tell you what, we would like to upgrade you to a suite at no additional charge to you. And of course, you're going, wow, because they see your Klout score when you check in, and they go, high Klout score. This person's probably going to say nice things about us. Therefore, we want to give them an upgrade. And you see, it's smart marketing on their part. Think about the marginal cost. To use an economic term, marginal cost is very low for them. It's not going to cost them that much more, but the value they get out of upgrading someone like Heather Lutze to a very nice suite, and she writes, wow, I really like the service here. It's great. Next time you're in Vegas, come by the Palms Hotel. That means a whole lot. Gina, anything you want to add to that?
You know, I've heard rumors that even big companies like Marriott are integrating this into their score. You know, definitely personal friends of mine have said that they've gotten upgrades from Marriott. So, you know, is Marriott as a whole doing this? Probably not. But our businesses far and wide looking at it, you know, that's one of the reasons that got my attention in the beginning also, because of the big companies that were using it, Disney, Sony, General Motors, you know, really big successful companies were spending big bucks with Klout. And I said, I think there's something here.
Well, I got a question actually from Corey Tipton. He said, I may be getting a little ahead of myself here, but what about brands on Klout? I see that you can register as a brand. Is there value in that, and how does it work for the business?
Well, I would say there's definitely value for big brands and for maybe medium-sized brands. Our presentation today is mainly focused from the user point of view. Maybe you could have us back in a few weeks or months, and we'll do something more from the brand point of view. But certainly, as a business owner, there are things that you can be doing just within your own list. And I'm going to show you a tool in a few minutes where you can, even just looking at Twitter, you can see what someone's Klout score is. So if you have their email and or you have their Twitter handle, you can find out their Klout score. And there's, depending on what size business you are, everything from, let's say that you just give them a discount coupon or you give them an extra piece of cake if they're at your restaurant, to you can actually contact Klout and get involved with them at the perk level. I don't know the exact numbers right now for doing a perk. It's big bucks. I think that, you're looking at a starting number of 10 to 15,000. So it's definitely something for bigger brands to consider.
Yeah, and one other thing I might add to that is a brand can use that also to gauge how well they are doing. For instance, Ford Motor Company has a Klout score. I checked a while back. I don't know what it is right now, but up in the 90s. Scott Monty, who worked with Ford for quite a while, he's now moved on, but he worked with them to make sure that they were really in tune with what their market is asking for. So for a brand, to answer Corey's question, Corey, thank you for that question. What that is a way for you to determine how well you're doing. And if you're doing the right things and in the right way, it's a good gauge to say, okay, how are we doing here really?
Great point.
Well, we also got a shout out from Australia. Austria.
Oh, okay.
Austria. Aren't they the same, Australia and Austria?
Yeah, no. I did not do well in geography, but I know the answer to that question. So we have international fans. So it says greetings from Austria. So it's very nice.
Well, very good.
Very
because
cool.
It would be about 8 in the evening, almost 9 in the evening there in Austria right now.
Yeah.
But over in Australia, it would be, let's see, about 4 in the morning. So if you're watching from Australia, good morning.
Or good evening.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's move on a little bit further and talk about these citizen influencers and what Klout can help you understand. So here I'm showing Heather's Klout profile. If you went to klout.com/Heather Lutze, and that's easy to know because that's the same as her Twitter handle. That's how you can find someone easily on Klout. You can use their search feature, or you can put in just klout.com/their Twitter username. And so it tells me that it gives me a little description here, and it tells me based on either topics that she's chosen or what Klout has deciphered from her post that she is an expert in internet marketing, SEO, search engine marketing, social networks, social media, and blogging. I think we can all agree that that's a pretty accurate description of some of the things that Heather's quite an expert in.
I try. I'm working on my new book here, Marketing Espinage, so it's, I don't know.
Reading that.
How many books have you guys written?
Well, together it's just one, but Terry had a couple before that. So
yeah, it's like giving birth again. I'm just trying to get I got most of the chapters done last week, but it's like, man, I'm headed down the road for my third book, and I'm just, here we go again.
Yeah, it's a fun process, and those of you that are thought leaders watching this, I encourage you, if you haven't done it already, definitely get a book out. It's a wonderful experience, and the opportunities today, it's a whole other webinar, but writing and putting those out are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's part of the beauty of Klout is it shows you right away the different posts that you've done that got a lot of engagement.
Yeah.
These are the posts where you were most influential. So this is another way that I find this to be a very helpful tool. This post that you did about your book, that you got a lot of engagement on that.
I did.
It was kind of a mix of you're sharing something about your profession, but you're sharing it in a very personal way. Probably people can't read it, but the sentence down there starts, I am really struggling with my new book. And you talked on about focus, and you asked your audience for suggestions. And so they gave you some great ones. You interacted with them. And, That's what makes for a great post, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I always find a huge difference between authenticity versus self-promotion. Obviously, I don't think anyone likes self-promotion, but I think at the end of the day, if we're running businesses, it's a really hard balance to talk about, what is my own personal opinion about my business versus self-promoting my company. And that's been a real challenge even for me, is how much do I share and how much is for business building, and then how much is for personal support. And it's it's an interesting line to walk. You guys obviously are thought leaders in this space as well. Terry, I see you on Twitter a lot. Is that your favorite platform, Terry, is Twitter?
Well, I like all of them. I do use Twitter a lot and use Facebook. Facebook might be one of my ones that I use more. I really enjoy LinkedIn. LinkedIn is unabashedly about business. It's there, but you got to be careful in this self-promotion. I found the way to do it is be promoting yourself always, but not yourself. Let someone else do that. If I say, hi, I'm wonderful, buy my stuff, people go, yeah, right. But if somebody else and people that they respect, which is really the Klout principle, people that they respect are saying, hey, Terry is really good because of this, that's good. I would suggest for those that are watching this that are thought leaders, target those key areas where your target market is very active. So, for instance, if you're trying to reach CEOs and those CEOs are reading, say, business journals, or they're reading Forbes or Wall Street Journal, which are magazines and publications that are often read by them, target that. Be there. Be in those areas where they respect and they go, yeah, that's where I've seen you. And that has a whole lot more impact than just you standing up going, hi, I'm wonderful, buy my stuff. And so always promote yourself, but do it in that other kind of back door way. That's the best way to do it.
So Terry, do you recommend approaching people and saying, if you enjoyed my experience, maybe you could post something on LinkedIn, you keep it super casual? Or how do you engage them without feeling super self-promotional? I mean, a lot of people on the call, they might have clients or they have, people they work with, and, that's a little touchy of a subject. You want people to talk about you, but sometimes you have to do a lot of encouragement. I mean, I recently got my CSP through the National Speakers Association.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thanks. It's Certified Speaking Professional, for those of you who don't know what that means. But I had to email and email and email to get the responses for the testimonials I needed. So getting people to self-evangelize for you can be a little challenging.
It can, and here's a way that I found to do it. We all have stuff to do. I mean, we've all got things. I was just having a conversation with a friend of ours who is having a product launch coming up in a few weeks, and it was a concern that I say, I want to help you, but also at the same time, we can't just say, hi, my friend is doing this, my friend is doing that. I think we always got to do is find a way that you can help the other people. So it's more than just me. So in other words, here's a post that I think can really make a difference in X. Find out how it can change that versus it's you. And that's where you've got to kind of step back yourself and be a person that's talking about a much higher goal, a much more worthy goal than just me. If, for instance, I'm saying I'm raising money to help, say, an orphanage in town, that is where I'm putting my emphasis. And the emphasis is on helping that orphanage. Or take this idea that's really important and we want to get that out to the world. Now it's not about me. It's about a much higher cause. And so you've always got to look for that, how you can do that and how you can interest the other person and show them the benefit that they will get. It's not always easy. Like you were saying, a CSP that you got, getting your certified speaking professional, you had to tell others, but let them know that there'll be a benefit on this and you'll be able to help them later or others in a way like that. Always begin with the end in mind of how you can help the other person. I think that's the real strategy, which makes sense whether you're dealing with 2014 technology and social media or if it were 1414 and you're in a village in Europe somewhere trying to sell your products and services. Target the other person and their need.
Wonderful feedback. Thank you, Terry. All right, what other tips do you got,
Gina?
Good point.
Okay. Well, I wanted to show some more aspects of Klout so people can understand, how they can use it. They added a component recently that they called content creation. I call it content curation, where they have curated from around the web articles that align with the topics that you are an expert in. And so, for example, on this one, it has 100 killer ideas for your social media content, and articles about social media influence. And so it presented those to me and said, hey, do you want to share these or not? So I find that it really is a great one-stop shop for finding some terrific content that aligns with things that I'm interested in, and logically those would be things that my audience is interested in. And so I go there and I can check those articles out and share them with my tribe.
And by the way, I might mention something, Heather, this loops back to what we were talking about before. One of the best ways you can help other people, curate a lot. Say, oh, by the way, here's a great article that I saw in Forbes magazine, or here's an article that I saw in this magazine, et cetera. People then start associating you as a resource who is giving a lot. Then when you do come around on those times that we all have from time to time, say, I need your help. Can you help promote such and such for me? They've got so much good from you already. You gave them this, and you gave them that article, and this video, and et cetera, et cetera. They feel like, well, you've given me so much, I want to help you. It's a natural way of responding. So I like the way that our friend Chris Brogan talks about it. He's done a lot in the social media. He says you want to have a 5-to-1 ratio. 5 things that you're giving good content value, non-salesy, for every 1 that you might sell. Because we eventually do have to sell. We all have to pay bills, and we need to generate money on this. And so, but if you think in terms of a 5-to-1 ratio, I think Chris is on the right target there to say, okay, give a lot of things, curate good information, and then people are more likely to want to help you out.
Absolutely. It's great. Great feedback.
Okay, Heather, I want to take a temperature check here. I'm showing we have about 10 minutes left.
Correct.
I could go towards the end and sort of wrap it up in case there are some questions.
James had a question, though, really about tips on how to, James Brewer, will you give me tips on how to move my score from 46 to 60 or whatever that, are there any specific, obviously you have to set it up, and we talked about that, but are there any other tips you can give the listeners about other things they could do to potentially increase their Klout score?
There are. I have a slide
great.
about that. Let's see if we can get to that one pretty quickly here.
I think that's always the most burning question, right, is how do I improve my Klout score?
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, as Gina's looking, I was just say, Gina, as you're looking for that, we have a video on our website at cloutmatters.com where we interviewed Joe Fernandez, the CEO and co-founder of Klout, and we specifically asked him that. How do you improve your Klout score? So watch that video at cloutmatters.com. It's free, and you don't even have to opt in or anything. Just go there and watch that. That'll help you on that. And then, Gina, you've got some other information you want to add.
Yeah, so Klout helps you measure your progress, as we've talked about, and understand your influence. One of the things I love to see is, where's my influence coming from? Is it mainly from Twitter, mainly from Facebook? And so I can see a percentage breakdown there. A good goal is to shoot for a score above 60. And Terry likes to say that Klout, I use the bathroom scale. He's much more eloquent. He says it's more like a lighthouse. It helps guide your way.
Exactly. I think it's kind of like, I'm a motivational speaker that's out there talking with people and things. You're in a rowboat. It's stormy and dark at night. You're being tossed to and fro. What do you do? And that's like social media. Oh, it's changing all the time. Well, you see that light in the distance, and you go, hark. Oh, I see it there. Work with me on this, okay? You're I'm going that direction. It is wonderful. And you row toward the lighthouse, and you're saved and everything. So Klout is the lighthouse. It's going, hey, Sparky, do this, and you'll be okay, okay? So if you just orient yourself that way. So I just kind of like the lighthouse. Heather, what do you think? Is that a pretty good little metaphor to use?
I think it's a keeper. I think it's a keeper for sure. Mm-hmm.
All right.
You had me.
There for us. There we go.
You had me.
That's great. Terry, I know that you could go into about an hour of presentation on this one. Could you just give us the quick highlights on this?
This is good. You want to use it and do it that way. How's that? No, start with the engagement. What social media is all about. We took a lot of it. We put this in our book, matter of fact. It's in Klout Matters. Start with engagement. You don't start by blasting out a message. Many people think that's what I'll do. They're thinking in terms of radio, TV, newspaper in the 60s or the 70s or the 80s. No. At 12 o'clock, start with engagement. You listen to what people are hurting about. What do they do? Then you respond to that by creating wonderful content. Follow down there around 5 o'clock. And you'll see in content creation, you want to do your research, then create text and audio, video, pictures you send out. And then over there around 7 o'clock, you have your distribution where you're sending it out to people. And then you get the feedback and go back to engaging again. It never stops. It keeps going. And that is the way that social media really works. Not by blasting. That's a term some people use, blasting a message out there. Bzz, 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 wrong. Do not do that, Scooter. That's not a good one. No, instead, what you want to do is start thinking, what can I listen to them? and really care, provide genuine, helpful information. And as you do that, then people go, ooh, that was helpful. And they start associating you with a person and a resource who is very helpful. As you do that, then you'll engage with them more. They'll want to do more business with you. It'll help. Oh, and by the way, that will raise your Klout score.
I was looking, or you could read chapter 5, Should You Make an Effort to Increase Your Klout Score?
Yes, indeed,
okay.
and a great book.
Have you heard of this?
Well, yeah.
I've heard of it.
You know, as Terry just made those points, I break it down into what I call the ABCs of social engagement. You want to always be engaging, as he said, not broadcasting. You don't get points on Klout for broadcasting. You get points for engaging. You want to be consistent. And this is an area where I see, you know, a lot of people, they'll do a great post and then they don't do anything for several days. So make sure that you're engaging consistently, that you're posting and sharing and engaging very consistently. And see it connect. So this is one of those things that right away people could see an immediate increase in their Klout score, Heather, is if they will go to Klout.com, and you sign in with Twitter or Facebook, it doesn't matter, immediately they're going to ask you to connect your other networks. So connect all of those networks. And in particular, I encourage you to connect your personal Facebook, not your business Facebook. For individuals, you're going to get a much better Klout score if you connect your personal Facebook, even if you're not very active on there personally. I've seen it time and again where somebody says, well, I just use it, you know, I don't use it for business and I don't want it there. Okay, but your Klout score is going to be higher if you will connect your Facebook personal profile.
Got it.
You can't do both. You can only do one.
Right. Okay.
Quickly here, Klout counts these different networks, and the ones that count the most are these. So I mentioned Wikipedia earlier. It's really hard to qualify for Wikipedia. You have to have an extensive amount of third-party coverage in the press. Wall Street Journal, Success Magazine, and not, you know, this is not just articles that you've written. These are where these different publications have profiled you or featured you. Instagram counts a surprising amount for the Klout score. And so I've just gone to using that as my camera sharing app. So I might take a photo with a different app, but then I go immediately to Instagram, I share it, I tag it, and I from Instagram I'll share directly to Twitter, Facebook, and Foursquare, and that helps my score quite a bit. I have some real specific tips here associated with Twitter and Facebook. I don't think we're going to have a lot of time to go through them, but you know, we talked about the retweets and replies. In that email, I'll send you some of my favorite tools. Here's one that's just called the Klout extension for Google Chrome. If you're using Google Chrome as your browser, you can automatically see what someone's Klout score is. So here, Justin Bieber's gotten a big demotion from his 100. He's down to 93. So I really love this tool.
Maybe Bieber fever is dying down, maybe?
It could.
Maybe. Facebook counts. They don't count just what you post, but they count the interaction with that post. So one way to do that is to take things, you know, if you have a book or something about your business and put it on a nice little image, share that. This was a further detail of the post that you did about your book, and I was, you know, it goes on quite extensively. I couldn't show the whole post there, but, you know, just that great interaction. This is a picture of me with Elvis. You can see the whole story. bit.ly/Elvis story, and it's an interesting little story there. But one of the best things to do on Facebook is called Way Back Wednesday and Throwback Thursday. And so you're able to pull things from your past. Pull the good one. It's a great way to toot your own horn without blowing it. Share something cool that happened when you graduated from your college, or when you got an award, or when you met somebody famous. This is a great way to do that, and there's 2 days of the week that have specifically been designated, Way Back Wednesday and Throwback Thursday, that are good for that.
And by the way, I might as well interject there. That really is the picture. That is not Photoshop. That is Gina as a little 9-year-old, and that really is Elvis Presley when she visited there, and he tore her panties. So she holds claim that Elvis literally tore her panties.
Wow.
You'll have to read the story about that, but that's a true story.
So we have an online group that is our book discussion group, raisemycloutscore.com. Just go there and ask to join the group. We'll add you to the group, and that's a great place to ask more questions about Klout. And when we do additional webinars about Klout, we will promote it there. And Terry, I know you like to tell people that the real secret to getting a high Klout score is
making sure that you consistently produce great content that people want to share. That is the key. You consistently, and that's important. Don't just do it once and then wait 6 months and do something else. But every Tuesday or every Thursday or every Friday or whatever it is for you that works in the rhythm that you have developed for your publications, be there and provide consistently good, quality, compelling information. Find your niche, and you got to get really good at it. That means you can't just slough this off. You can't put out stuff that's not worthwhile. It's got to be really good that people go, wow, did you read what she wrote today? This is really good, and even better than last week, which was great. You want that kind of thing. So that means you got to do your research. Do good interviews. Do your homework. As a journalist, I know it's one way to just say, oh, here's the company press release, I'll just redo that. And unfortunately, a lot of journalists do that today.
Yeah.
But I say, no, you got to get in there and do your hardcore work. Get on the phone, do the research, and go beyond Google and Bing. You got to get out there and do it on your own. And that's the same thing with Klout. Get out there, do your work. That's really the simple approach to it. That's very simple, but it's not easy. It does take work. Be willing to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, do the extra that others aren't willing to do. And I think that's the key. Earl Nightingale talked about that the difference between those who succeed and those that don't. Those who succeed go the extra mile. They do more than others will. Others go, well, that takes too much work. I don't want to do it. Good. We want people to get ahead, and you will get ahead if you do work that the market values, not just doing a lot of work. So people will say, well, I put in all the effort. Good. You don't get paid for effort. You get paid for results. So generate the work and get those results.
Jean-Luc Picard, personal favorite of yours, guys?
Yes, Terry's converted me to being a real Star Trek fan. He's been one for many years, and now I am. And certainly Jean-Luc Picard is quite famous for saying, engage.
Right.
I did want to offer your viewers that opportunity, if they have questions about Klout Score or what they're doing on social media, to join me for a free strategy session. They just need to go to ginacarr.com/strategy-session.
Okay, and what exactly is that? Is it a group session or one-on-one with you?
The strategy session is one-on-one with me, and I'll take a look at what they're doing on social media, give them some ideas, some suggestions. Often I can point out just a couple of quick things that they can do that will really boost the Klout score specifically, which enhances their overall digital reputation.
Thank you so much for offering that. That's wonderful.
Okay, wanted to remind people to join our group, raisemycloutscore.com. Here are some of those links. And if you want to win the book, here we go, finally. Tweet, if you want to raise your Klout score, ask Terry Brock and Gina Carr why Klout matters.
I'm typing this in.
Get found. Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, so everyone can just
type. I should have sent it to you in advance. I apologize. I thought.
Oh no, you did. You did. I would have been far too prepared, I think.
Boy Scouts might disagree with you about being too prepared. I think you can always prepare.
We are 4 minutes over, guys. I just would love to talk to you for another hour. I just want to thank you so much for your brilliant thought leadership around Klout and for taking time out of your busy businesses to talk to my university members. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart for all your wonderful thought leadership.
Well, we're glad to be with you, Heather. We really respect you and what you've done. Thank you for all that you're giving good and helping people in so many different areas in this sea that's raging about us called social media. You are also a lighthouse, and thank you, Heather, for allowing us to be with you.
Love Gina and Terry.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Okay, guys, have a wonderful day. Thanks again for joining us. Okay, everybody.
Right. Okay.
Bye-bye.